So when you're going to do your recording and you launch Audition, you can click on the record button. If you open up Audition, there's no files open. So if you click record, it's the same as going under the file pull-down menu and choosing new audio file. The recommended plan is to record your files, or each thing that you need as its own file, and then we will piece those together in what is called a multi-track session. So I choose audio file. I can set it. CD audio quality is fine, 4416 stereo. And this I'm going to call voice 1. And it's not saving this file right now. I will then need to save it into a location that I can then specify so that I know where everything's going to be. So I hit OK. Now it's waiting for me to hit the record button, and then it will be ready to record. So at this point, I can either hit Shift Space on the keyboard as the tooltip is telling me, or I can click on the red record button. And I push the button, and at this point, I can now be character 1. Hi, I am character 1. If I hit the space bar, it stops the recording. And it's really useful when you're recording in a recording booth or something like that to have someone helping you. They start and stop the recording. They cue you in. Okay, go. And they point at you and say, go, and then it works really well. If you don't do that, you hit the record button, you get up from the computer, you casually walk over to the sound booth, and you go inside, shut the door, say your lines, open the door, come out, and then stop the recording. It's no big deal if you get that extra stuff at the beginning and end, because you can very easily trim it. So I am going to switch back from the frequency display to just the waveform display, and that's Shift D on the keyboard, or I can click the button up here and it goes away, the show and hide spectral display. So we can see now here is my audio, and I can scrub the audio and get a live weird playback. If I want to scrub it backwards, I can hear myself talk in reverse and see if I speak in hidden messages. Maybe I'm that good. It could happen. And I push the button, and at this point I can now be character 1. Hi, I am character 1. Okay, so looking at this, I can see that this whole beginning part I really don't need. I just want this to say, hi, I am character 1, and we will record some other files as well and then combine them all. So I can now take and highlight the section I don't want and hit the delete key, and it goes away. I can highlight the extra stuff at the end because I can see based on the waveform there's nothing there. Hit delete. So now I've trimmed up my audio. It's pretty good. If I want to record character 2 as well as character 3, I will say new audio file, voice 2, hit OK. Yo, I'm character 2. Get rid of the stuff at the beginning. I know I don't want that. Get rid of the stuff at the end. Done. So we have character 1, character 2. They're ready to go. Now if I want to add in my third character, I can repeat this process. Command-Shift-N is the same as going under File and choosing New Audio File. You don't have to know the keyboard shortcuts, but you find the more time you spend on a computer, they're time savers. And it's about efficiency. The more efficient you are, the faster you can get a project done, so you can move on to bigger and better things, or sometimes more fun things, instead of just grinding it out. So efficiency is important. Voice 3. Hi, I'm voice 3. So voice 3 apparently is a higher pitched voice. Hi, I'm voice 3. Hi, I'm voice 3. Okay. Now if I'm noticing that's not quite loud enough, I do have my ability to adjust audio up here, and I can just go and start making it louder like this by dragging up the volume, and you can see the waveform gets a little bit bigger and louder. So now if I play it, voice 3. Hi, I'm voice 3. All right, so now I've increased it. So if I want it to be louder, I can certainly do that. So now I have my 3 voices, and it's ready to go. If I want to now put these into a multi-track file, I need a multi-track file to put them into. So like everything else on the computer, I can use keyboard shortcuts. I can right-click on things, or I can go to the pull-down menu. In this case, I am going to just select the pull-down menu and notice it's Command-N, New Multi-Track Session. Now, it's important that you pay attention to where this folder is going to go, because this is where all of your assets are going to be. The multi-track session is not an audio file per se. It's more of an XML file that kept track of all the settings of what clips you want to play, where you want them to play, what volume you want them to play at, and all the other things you want to have happen to those clips. Those clips are the actual contents of it, so everything's going to need to be in one happy place. So I am going to browse for a new folder. I'll click Browse, and now I can choose. It's going to generally default into Document Adobe Audition 4. That's where it will generally default to, but we don't want that to happen. So I can then put it on the desktop if I want. I wouldn't recommend it in a lot of cases, but if I Command D whenever you're in a window like this automatically pulls up the desktop, which allows you to navigate to things. Now that you've done the recording, you could save this folder on your flash drive, or you could save it in the Mac storage drive, which would be my recommendation. So you would make a folder, give it your last name. Highly recommend you make the folder with your name. Now, if you have one of those more common names like the Scandinavian descent names that proliferate in Minnesota, I would encourage you to maybe use your first and last name as part of your folder name so that we can differentiate your project files from someone else's. So I make a folder, and now I can save that as my destination folder. I am going to call this Demo 1. Now I'm going to change the quality to match the recording I did. I did 44:16 for my pieces, so I can do that. So I really don't need my session to be higher quality than the source files. Once I've completed all of those steps, I can hit OK, and now you can see I have a multi-track session ready to add in my audio. If I want to now add in voice 1, I can just drag this over and it sticks it into the timeline. If I want to add voice 2, I can drag that over. If I want to add voice 3, repeat the process. If I put each one onto its own track, then I can treat them all individually very easily. So I just hit the zoom button to give me a little tighter view of what's going on. If I want them to play with no overlap, it will automatically snap and put them together. So now I have voice 1. Hi, I am character 1. Yo, I'm character 2. Hi, I'm voice 3. So I now have my project. I've assembled the pieces very easily. If for some reason you have things that you want to crossfade, not really necessary for this project, but you could. You can automatically do it. Notice I dragged the files over the top of each other, and you can see by those arcing lines that they're actually going to make one fade out, one fade up. I have no idea what that's going to sound like, but I move the playback head, and then I can hit space to play, or I can click on play down here. Character 2. I'm voice 3. So now they overlap. If I want to undo that, just pull it apart and boom. So it's a very flexible way of working. Now if I realize that I need to trim one of these pieces that I've already put in here, all I have to do is double click on it and it brings me into the editing mode of that file. So now I can go and do any changes I need to do. So yo, I'm character 2. So I want the yo to get a little bit louder, so I'll just highlight yo and pull it up a little bit like that. I'm character 2. Yo, I'm character 2. Okay, so now the yo's louder. And I can click up here to get back to my session, or I can double click on it in the file browser and it brings it back. And you can see it's now updated the visual of the waveform, and it's showing it with the increased yo. Yo, I'm character 2. Okay, so basic editing is going to involve trimming and maybe making something a little bit louder or a little bit softer, and that's going to be the bulk of the work that you're going to need to do to the different pieces that you include in your project. And that will work well for the voices, and then as you start to add in music and sound effects, you might need to do some other things. So the question has come up of how can I take, when one character has spoken, say, a couple lines, and I want to have a different character's voice occur. So I need to split or cut a track into more than one piece. So to do that, I could have recorded each little word or line as its own file. That's not a very efficient way to record. It's often more efficient just to record mistakes and all, and you just keep having the person talk and talk and talk, and then you go through and then you edit out the parts you don't want. That's a pretty common way to do it. You don't go, oh, that was take one, now we do take two, because then you'll end up with a list of about 20 files before you get the perfect take, and you might not even have a perfect take. You instead are only just having pieces that are working out into what is the perfect take. So I'm going to split my first one that starts out after the word hi. I'm going to split it so I can have character 3 get in the mix. So I can look at the waveform here and see that it gets quiet before it starts with the I am character 1. So I know it's going to be right about here. So to split this, I can use the razor tool. So I can click on the razor tool and then click at that point in the clip. And now, oh, hang on, I clicked on one of those colored lines. I clicked on the volume envelope line, which we'll talk about momentarily. So it added a keyframe onto that instead of actually razoring the clip. And now we can see it's now two separate pieces. And now I could sequence. So now we go to here. So we could go hi, 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 and then have I am character 1. Oh, actually, I kind of like that. We'll split the introduction for each of the 3. So if we go here, now another way you can split a clip is you put the playback head where you want it, and I believe the key command is Command K. Command K for split. Yeah, I'm drawing a connection there. But key commands don't always correspond to their phonetic words or actions they're associated with. But now I've split that, and now we'll go on to character 3, and it's right about there. Command K for that. So now I have my 3 introductions. We can have hi, yo, and the high-pitched hi. Then we can move it around. So the nice part about it is once you have it in a digital form, you can kind of do whatever you want. And you have a lot of flexibility. So, yo.
I am character.
Oh, this was overlapping. Well, you know, maybe I want a little crossfade of those, so I could just easily put those on the same.
Yo. Hi, I am character 1. I'm character 2. I'm voice 3.
So now I've divided those up and put my different pieces in. So Command K is probably going to be easier than grabbing the razor and clicking on the line, in my opinion, is you just scrub until you get to where you want it, hit Command K, it splits it into 2 pieces, and then you can drag them where you need to drag them to arrange your different parts as the telling of your story. So if global effects, if I want a whole track to get louder or softer, I can modify its volume here. More commonly, what you do is you apply what is an envelope effect. We have these colored lines that you can see here, the blue one for pan, the gold one for volume. And I clicked in that line, and now it inserted what is a keyframe. If I have 2 keyframes, I can adjust that effect. So we can see if I pull something down about 10 dB or decibels, it's going to get really quiet. If I pull something up, it's going to get quite a bit louder. So now,
I am character 1.
so we could see under character 1, the voice started dipping because I really pulled it down. But if I wanted to, I don't know why I would, but you can put little dips in and do.
Character 1.
So you can actually start to make the volume go up and down as you need to by just clicking in the line. It adds a keyframe, and then you move that keyframe around. It's a very straightforward way of modifying or dealing with these kinds of things over time. Keyframes represent points of change. So each dot here is a keyframe, and I can also do panning as well as volume. So if we want character 1, well, character 2, I'm going to put this back to 0, so it's centered, but then take the pan of it, and we'll start out and put a keyframe, so it's now going to work its way across the microphone. Or it's,
I'm voice 3.
oh, let's move voice 3 out of the way.
I'm character 2.
It's not quite enough noise long enough to hear, but let's try and get it like this.
I'm character 2.
Okay, so with these keyframes here, we can see that it started out, it's panned all the way to, I believe, the right.
I'm character 2.
And then it pans over to the left. So you can hear the difference as it's going from speaker to speaker, working its way across. So you can have panning envelopes, you can have volume envelopes, and these things can add a lot of richness and a lot of fun to your project. So you can manually control these in each part, each subclip that you're working on. So it's something that I would encourage you to work on exploring. But the big part is you just need to kind of use Command K, break things into pieces, and then start setting them where you need them occurring across time on your multi-track file. So to add the music that I've downloaded from American Music Co., I can double-click in my file browser, and I can go find the music. And if I want to add that to my project, I can just drag it down onto an empty track. And it's now telling me the sample rate if the inserted file does not match. Press OK to make a copy, which will then be conformed to match my session. Sweet. This is a nice improvement. It used to be it would say, no, I can't add that file to that multi-track session because it doesn't match, and you'd have to manually go figure out, well, what's its sample rate compared to your project, and then convert it, and it was a big pain. Now it automatically does this. Now I'm pretty happy. Okay, there's the music. Now, if I want the people to talk and then, well, we'll probably start out with some music first. Get a little more space to work here. So I have some music happen. Can have my 3 voices and do that. Now, this is a great opportunity for using an envelope. So I can click in my music track. I can click again and then drag my sound down to fade it way down. So it's ducking under. That's the audio terminology. I'm ducking my audio. So I will be able to hear the 3 people say hi, yo, and whatever else they were saying. Then I can click again and click again to add back in. So now the music comes back. So if I listen to this,
Yo. Hi.
So I've now created the impression that the music ducked down so I could hear the voices, then the music came back, and now if I want the music to duck back down again while the people speak.
I'm character 2.
I'm voice 3.
Character 1.
And at that point, we can pull it back. And I'm looking at the numbers it's telling me. So 0 dB means I'm back to its original starting volume. Anything with a positive dB means it's making it louder. Anything with a negative means it's going quieter. So we can see.
Character 1.
And then I would continue on for the 15 seconds. That is the song. If I want the song to then fade out at the end, I can automatically, oh, there's a bunch of fluff at the end we don't need. And then I can add in just with the basic fade feature, so it will fade out as it plays. That's done. So now I've very easily taken 3 characters, cut their dialogue lines into a couple pieces, rearranged them, modified their volumes, modified their panning, brought in music, enveloped the music to match what the characters are doing. The final thing I would need to do to turn this into a complete project would be to add in some sound effects. So I could go download sound effects and insert those the same way I've inserted other audio elements into my project. And the remaining thing that needs to happen is to export this into a compressed, mixed down file. So before I do that, I probably do want to do a save. So I will save. And I'll just say yes to all. And my changes. Now it's asking me to save voice 3 and other things. So I'm going to browse for where I want to put it and put it into storage, my name. Demo 1, we can see that's where it made the modified version of that. So here I will save this in that folder. Saving it as a wave. There's voice 1, voice 2. It's very important to keep all of the source files with your project because the multi-track session does not have the audio in it. It's referencing the clips that are playing. So it's very, very important that you always keep that. So I really need to make sure that I keep that folder. So if I go into Mac storage, go in my project, demo 1, I need to have all my pieces. If I don't, when I try to open this file, it won't work. Because you can see this Audition file, it's 98K. This voice file, the first one is 360K. So if we think about this multi-track file as having 3 voices plus music, that's bigger than 98 kilobytes in size. So that tells you that's only a pointer file. It's just storing settings and kind of layout information, but it's not holding audio content. So it's very important. So now to create my mix down, I can either go under multi-track and say mix down entire session to new file, or I can go under file and choose export multi-track mix down entire session. It's pretty much about the same option. It brings me to the exact same dialogue next. So whether I go under file export or multi-track mix down, I'm going to be getting the same result. And here's my mix down.
Hi. Yo.
Hi.
I'm character 2.
I'm voice 3.
Character 1.
Now we can see all the tracks are lost, envelopes are lost, keyframes are lost. It's now a finished file. And now I just need to save that, and then it will prompt me of, well, how do you want to save it? And I can now choose AIFF, MP3, or WAV. I guess I could choose QuickTime, but I don't know why I would want a audio-only QuickTime. QuickTime is, that's a whole different discussion. We're not going there. AIFF and WAV are uncompressed file formats. That means they maintain the highest quality audio fidelity. MP3 is a compressed version, so data is thrown out to make the file significantly smaller. For your project, I would ask for a WAV or a AIFF file so it sounds better. You can make an MP3 for yourself. and then put on your MP3 player, play it in your car while you're going to and from school, and you can go, wow, I rock, I'm awesome. And it's pretty cool. If you are working between platforms, so you're going to do work on the Mac and the Windows platform, you need to use Wave. Windows does not like AIFF. The default file format for audio on the Mac is AIFF. Windows uses Wave, so they're in opposition. Mac will read both just fine, but Windows does not like AIFF. So I would recommend, if you are going to be going between computers, that you use Wave. Because I go back and forth between, or I make files for students that may be on one platform or the other. I've just adopted a Wave-only workflow, and it works fine for me, and I've never had any issues on the Mac. If you use AIFF, Windows gets really grumpy. So now that I have that, I can choose Wave. I can give it a better name if I want. I'll just leave it as Mixdown for the time being. Saving it into my folder, and I'll hit OK, and my project is done. At that point, you will be able to then go log on to D2L, connect to the appropriate Dropbox, and submit this file to the Dropbox as the final step in completing your project. Okay, so now working with this to create the new file, Command-Shift-N pulls up new audio file. In the settings, if I want CD audio, of course, 4416, that will work. I can name it now Voice 4 to protect the innocent. And now it comes up and it's ready to record. So provided nothing's changed on this since I double-checked it this morning, we should be ready to start recording this. So on the count of 3, I have my volunteer. I'm going to hit the record button. Stop my recording. So we can see there it is, it recorded it. The sound booth gives a much better recording than my demonstrations up front because I don't have, the microphone isn't picking up the ventilation system, so it's nice and clean. And we can see now that the right channel is empty, or the left channel is, no, the right channel is empty. It says right over here. Left channel here is what recorded. The microphone is a mono device. It only transmits into one channel. So to create synthetic stereo, so that we have left and right channels, so I can pan or have richer things, what I am going to then choose here in it is in Audition that missing my pull down menus. So now that I found my pull down menus, left channel has audio, right channel does not. To add the audio to the right channel, I can go under the Effects pull-down menu and choose Amplitude and Compression, and then choose Channel Mixer. So I choose the first effect, and then I choose the second option in those effects. And because audio is in the left, I need to put some audio in the right. All I have to do is then choose Fill Right, hit Apply. Oh, sorry, it was fill left. It's always backwards, so undo. Let's try again. Undo. So effects, amplitude, channel mixer, and fill left, apply, and now it put the audio. So we have the same audio occurring in both channels. So now, if I want to insert this into a multi-track file, new multi-track, insert voice 4 into it. Now, because it's occurring in both channels, now I could actually create a panning effect or something. If it's only in one channel, locally at that computer it will play out of the speakers and you'll hear it on both speakers and go, well, it sounds fine. But if you were to actually create the mixdown and play it on your headphones, you would only hear it come out of the single channel. So you need to create this synthetic stereo and then work with it. Now, if you have a recording microphone that actually is a stereo recording microphone, then it will actually have, in effect, 2 microphones, so it's picking up a left and a right channel. But many studio-grade microphones are mono or single channel, and then they just split the signal to create this fake stereo kind of environment.